All right, what's going on, you guys? Brian here with my quick Monday Night Raw recap for tonight's episode. I'm just going to run through everything. This was the show after Backlash, which saw Randy Orton win what was being built as the greatest wrestling match ever against Edge. Drew McIntyre retained his WWE Championship against Bobby Lashley. Plus a bunch of other stuff happened. So let's just get right into it. We heard from Randy Orton, who gloated about his victory over Edge at Backlash. He would be interrupted by Christian. Then Randy would challenge Christian to an unsanctioned match for later on in the show, which of course Christian accepted. We had a Angel Garza and Zelina Vega interview where they talked about what happened on the Backlash kickoff show involving Andrade as he challenged Apollo Crews for the United States Championship, how Garza was trying to help him, but then Garza got taken out by Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens defeated Angel Garza. That was the first match overall on the show. There was a couple of Bobby Lashley and MVP segments and interviews, one involving them with Lana, Lashley's wife, who basically told Lashley that she has put her career on hold for him, and apparently she wanted to be famous. According to Lashley, she wanted to be famous on social media, and then he said he wants a divorce. That was it for that. We had a couple of Viking Raiders and Street Profits segments. They were actually in action. The Street Profits and the Viking Raiders, they teamed up in an 8-man tag to take on Akira Tozawa and 3 of his ninjas. Of course, the Tozawa and the ninjas appeared at Backlash. Then we also heard from Seth Rollins. Sorry guys if I keep looking down. I'm looking at my notes here. We had a Seth Rollins in-ring promo where he basically asked Rey Mysterio to convince Dominic to join his group, to join his cause, and that either Dominic joins him, or he'll become a sacrifice, like Seth made a sacrifice of Rey Mysterio. Dominic, Rey Mysterio's son, would come out behind Seth Rollins, attack him, and would throw him into the ring steps, and then escape when Murphy and Austin Theory came out to try to chase after him. They then would announce that next week, or they would announce a little bit later on, that Rey Mysterio will be appearing next week on Raw. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. We saw the Iconics bounce back from their loss at Backlash in that triple threat match where they lost to the women's tag team champions Sasha Banks and Bayley in a triple threat match that also involved Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross for those women's tag team titles. The Iconics defeated Liv Morgan and Natalya. They then challenged Sasha and Bayley for the women's tag team championships for next week's show. And then a little bit later on in the show, Sasha and Bayley would be celebrating not only their victory, but also the fact that it was Bayley's birthday. So the Iconics took this opportunity to come out wanting an answer. They then would slap Sasha. I believe it was Billie Kay that slapped Sasha, and this caused Bayley to accept the challenge. So next week, the women's tag team titles will be on the line. The Iconics will be challenging for those championships. However, the question is, will it be Sasha and Bayley defending those championships? Because this Wednesday on NXT, Sasha and Bayley will be defending those women's tag titles against Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. We had an MVP and Apollo Crews segment where MVP tried to convince Apollo to let him be his manager. Before that, we had a Liv Morgan, Natalya, Lana backstage segment where Natalya was talking to Liv Morgan about Liv not having respect, and she knows what now. She knows why Ruby Riott got rid of her. Then, when Liv Morgan walked away, here comes Lana and spilling out her problems to Natalya, and Natalya saying, "I understand what you're going through." So that was it for that. The United States champion Apollo Crews was in action. He took on Shelton Benjamin. We had a Viking Profits, that being the Viking Raiders and Street Profits backstage segment with the Big Show. That would lead to Big Show saying, "You know what? Let's do this. As far as this tie and your competitions are concerned, let's do next week. Let's have the Raw Tag Team Championships be on the line. Street Profits defending against the Viking Raiders in the ring." It was supposed to happen at Backlash, but because they got into a brawl, and then they wound up fighting a bunch of ninjas. That match did not happen at Backlash, but next week the match will take place. The Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders with the Raw Tag Team titles on the line. Then we had what turned into a tag match, which was a tag match, then turned into a winner-take-all match, then turned into just the WWE Championship being on the line. It was MVP and Bobby Lashley losing to the 24/7 champion R-Truth and WWE champion Drew McIntyre when McIntyre hit the Claymore kick on MVP and then allowed R-Truth to hit a splash and score the victory. The reason why I say it was supposed to be a winner-take-all match before was because in a backstage segment, when MVP and Lashley were looking for R-Truth, because he had interrupted a segment involving them earlier on in the show, they basically said that, you know what, let's do this. Let's have it be winner-take-all, R-Truth's 24/7 title being on the line, as well as Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship being on the line. Then, in another segment, R-Truth walks up to Drew McIntyre and says, "Don't worry about it. I talked to the powers that be, and they said there's only going to be one championship on the line in that match, and it's going to be Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship," which didn't make Drew happy. So, and he thought, okay, I'm screwed. I'm going to lose my title without even being pinned. So, but in the end, Drew McIntyre and R-Truth, they were able to pick up the W. Then we had a Bayley and Sasha in-ring segment where they celebrated their victory at Backlash. They retained their women's tag titles at Backlash. It was also Bayley's birthday. They would be interrupted. I believe I brought this up already. They would be interrupted by the Iconics. This was kind of what set up the next week's women's tag title match. So with the Iconics slapping Sasha, Bayley getting upset because it was her birthday. She wound up accepting it. We had Asuka defeating Nia Jax for the Raw Women's in a Raw Women's Championship rematch from Backlash, where both women were went to a double countout. Asuka picked up the win when Nia Jax she had hit the Samoan drop on Asuka, that being Nia Jax, but then when she went for the pin, the referee noticed that Asuka's foot was under the bottom rope, and he didn't count the pin. Nia got mad, shoved the referee. The referee looked like he was gonna disqualify her, but Asuka rolled up Nia, and the referee quick counted her down. So Asuka is still the Raw Women's Champion. Then we had Randy Orton defeating Christian in an unsanctioned match with a little bit of help from Ric Flair, who a little bit earlier on in the show tried to talk Christian out of this unsanctioned match. Christian having nothing of it. He then would come down to the ring again to try to talk Christian out of it. Christian's like, "No, I have to do this," and he wound up paying for it with when Ric Flair delivered a low blow to Christian. Bell rang. Boom. Randy Orton hits the punt kick, and pins Christian. And Raw goes off the air with Randy Orton apologizing and saying this was Christian's fault. He didn't want to do this. This shouldn't have happened, and it's all Christian's fault. So that was it for that. So Raw tonight was a so-so episode. So that is pretty much it. That is pretty much it for my recap of some of the things that happened on Raw tonight. I didn't go through everything because there was a lot of segments involving the same people, so I didn't feel like running through everything. But yeah, that was pretty much my Raw recap. As always, I am Brian, and thank you for watching.